My name is Michael Garman, and Michael Garman was my father.
My name is Justin Sheldon, and I know Michael Garman because I am the museum and gallery manager for Michael Garman Galleries and Museum. Somebody who's never knew about Michael Garman, ask about Michael Garman. The first thing that comes to mind is, I guess, his very interesting life and his sculpture and his work.
Well, one, that he was a great dad. You know, he was a lot of fun. He was charismatic and charming and playful. He loved to make people laugh and have fun.
My name is Greg Drees. My poetry moniker is Hobo Grog, and I met Michael simply by saying good morning to him along the sidewalk outside of his place. He wasn't a man of airs. He was an everyday man. He considered everyone, I think, in my opinion, he considered everyone an equal. I thought he had a heart for the average person.
I know that he grew up in South Texas, and he and his brother would play in the fields and create little battle scenes between, you know, this boat and that ship and war, and he would begin to make little men out of pipe cleaners at that time.
Back in the day that he was shown by his father had a lot of interest in arts, poetry, literature. Michael followed in that as well. Michael early got into photography, and that was his first passion. He had an uncle that showed him how to do darkroom photography. From that photography, he went to travel, and during his travels, mainly to Mexico and South America, that's when he grew a passion for kind of taking pictures of and then eventually sculpting kind of the common person.
You know, his dad was an amateur wood carver, so he had, you know, a little bit of a background seeing how some of that worked and proportions and things. So he would make these, and he went as far as to sew little outfits and little clothes. You know, he kind of really got into it. You know, anything he did, he really did. You know, he got into it. And so he would create these little pipe cleaners, and he would make little characters. And he would then start to, you know, have scenes that, you know, little vignettes, a little bit like he created later in life, you know. And then, so, you know, from his early years, he had those little dramatic moments of characterization that you know, kind of lasted throughout his life. He had a short stint in the Air Force. He got the urge to travel.
He originally went with, I believe he said $35 in his pocket, and his plan was to return north when he ran out of money. He was able to continue to make money the whole time, or even if he couldn't make money, if they wouldn't, you know, he'd offer to work for, you know, money or food. Even if they didn't have any work or any money, they would often feed him, give him a ride on a bus, and so he was just able to keep making it work. So I just think he continued until he did truly run out of money, and that's when he returned home.
The amount of money that he brought down there was just a couple of bucks. I think he ran out the first day or two. You know, he was just kind of, you know, maybe, lack of a better term, finding himself.
One word: freedom. Once again, the people don't understand the freedom of a vagabond, the gypsy soul.
He would look at books and paintings. So early on, it was books from, you know, contemporary American painters, European painters, and then going actually to museums in Dallas, Fort Worth when he traveled, and that really had a big influence on him.
It was everyone he met, the average person along the street. That was who influenced him. And he rubbed elbows with presidents, you know? And he said that was fine.
You know, and he always talked about how he wanted to sculpt like John Steinbeck wrote. Like, he wanted to create little vignettes and dramas, and, you know, he didn't just want there to be a stiff statue of, you know, some guy. He wanted there to be interaction. So, you know, and even his times in Central South America and down in Dallas and in California, he would make statues of like a woman selling flowers, and, you know, two people sitting on a bench together, and, you know, a lot of his creations were multiple, you know, people at times. You know, the ones that he, you know, he started doing those little vignettes, and he even did little brick walls that he would create. You know, some of his early work to create the scene also. You know, because it wasn't just the characterization, but he wanted to, like in theater, he wanted to establish the scene. You know, to give the whole picture.
I did have conversations with Michael regarding how he felt about his artwork being given away as, you know, gifts or prizes or mementos to world leaders, to celebrities and so forth. I think he found it, he enjoyed it. He always said he had a little bit of ego, but really I think he didn't. I think sometimes he's almost embarrassed by it.
Yeah, I mean, he was extremely proud and, you know, excited that, I think it was Ronald Reagan had the saddle tramp in his office, you know, and he was like, you know, there it is.
I don't know if Michael ever wanted to create his own museum. I think he wanted to create Magic Town. He wanted to create an experience that was interactive. You know, it's his seminal piece. It is the large-scale work that he had envisioned in his head since his early days in San Francisco.
Magic Town is the, he called it a sinful Disneyland dollhouse, you know, miniature cityscape that, you know, was created little by little with the idea that people would come in and get a feeling of sections that are just like Magic Town all over the United States, all over the country, that still look and feel just like the Magic Town. And he wanted to recreate that and a place for his characterization and his characters to interact. I still walk through and I still enjoy small moments and things that you recognize maybe for the first time, you know, and I see it all the time. I've never had anybody come in, you know, for the second or the third or fourth time and say, oh, I saw everything. You know, it's always, I saw something new, you know, and there's, you know, there was a number of people that created parts and pieces, and every little tin can, every soup can, every beer can, every cigarette pack was created in-house by a group of artists under his direction that made this happen. You know, there's no store-bought, this is not dollhouse furniture. Every table, chair, light fixture, window was created in-house by an artist under his direction.
Why do I think people visit Magic Town? Similar to as I said before, I think they connect with the people. They connect with the scenes, even if they've never lived in a larger scale city. You know, I think they connect to everyday life.
He wasn't always trying to make a bold statement or try and force something down your throat. He wanted to stir something up inside of you that was a dramatic moment, and that was yours and yours alone. He wasn't trying to tell you what to think. He just wanted to make you think.
The piece that you're looking at now is Darby Street by Michael Garman. This piece was finished in about the 1975 time frame. This is kind of the piece on the large scale that kind of started it all for Michael. The first complete finished large scale piece that he did would lead into even larger pieces and lead eventually into the Magic Town exhibit. This particular piece he did put into an art show in Denver, the 3rd Colorado Annual at the Denver Art Museum. Michael actually won first place in the show with the piece, but did run into a bit of controversy after the piece was shown once he had shared his intentions to have it, to reproduce the piece, to make it available in similar features or slightly personalized options. Many in the art world at the time didn't feel that was the way you should go about it if you're doing high scale art. He had a gentleman interested in purchasing the piece who wasn't interested in purchasing it if it wasn't going to be a one-of-a-kind type piece. But as Michael often referred to it as art for the people, he wanted his art to be accessible to everyone and anybody that wanted to own it and enjoy it. So he saw no issues with reproduction, whether it was in his large-scale pieces or his simple sculptures. He wanted to make sure that anybody who wanted to enjoy his art could in one way or another. So,
yeah, I wrote a poem, and it kind of reiterates everything that we just spoke of. It says, it began with a simple good morning along the sidewalk near Michael's place, a gentleman's nod of graciousness, and the warmth of the smile on his face. It wasn't long before I realized that he was an everyday man, an everyday guy, that he loved a good conversation about all sorts of wheres and whys. We spoke of our vagabond spirits and the freedom some can't understand, of ethics and just the average Joe, and the trust when you shook hands with a man. and it became a smile inside each time we'd share a word or two. A Renaissance man and his hobo friend, touching base on the old and the new.